This is the Chevy Camaro ZL1, which is the ultimate Chevy Camaro version. But this isn't just any Camaro ZL1. This one has the special 1LE package, which is designed for use on the racetrack. And today, I'm going to review it. I've borrowed this ZL1 from CNC Motors, which is an exotic car dealership here in Southern California that has everything from million-dollar exotic sports cars to cool SUVs to vintage stuff. You can check them out by clicking the link in the description below. They have a truly unbelievable inventory. So let's talk Camaro. The base Camaro now uses a turbocharged 4-cylinder, which makes 275 horsepower. Or you can step up to the V6 model, which has 335 horsepower. Or you can step up to the V8 powered Camaro SS, which has 455 horsepower. Or you can just go nuts. Go all the way to the top and pick out the Camaro ZL1, which has a 650 horsepower supercharged V8 and a starting price of just under $65,000. Now, I've already reviewed the Camaro ZL1, but today I'm reviewing the ultimate version of the ultimate Camaro. This is the ZL1 1LE, which is the track-focused model that improves on the regular ZL1 with better tires, better suspension, a giant rear wing, and a 60-pound weight reduction. So today I'm going to take you on a tour of the 1LE and show you a few interesting quirks and features. Then I'm going to get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'm going to give it a Doug score. All right, I'm going to start the quirks and features of the ZL1 with the front end, because this is just about the craziest front end you will ever run across. I think the most aggressive looking front end design of any vehicle on the market right now. The regular ZL1 is pretty crazy, but this goes way further with this splitter at the bottom that juts out and these little air panel conductor thingies that are intended to direct air for optimized aerodynamics. And then of course the grille, which just looks like an angry rabid animal is about to take a bite out of whatever's in front of it. Everything up here looks so absurd and aggressive and overdone, but in a good way, because this is such a niche kind of range-topping car. I also love the fact that even the Chevrolet logo on the grille is open to allow air to flow through it. The Chevy logo is normally called the bow tie because it looks like a bow tie, but in this case they call it the flow tie because air is passing through it, which is funny. But either way, the front end of the 1LE, insanity. Now around back, things aren't quite as ridiculous as they are up front, but you do have one crazy component, and that would be this rear wing. Again, this is unique to the 1LE. The regular ZL1 doesn't have this like 7-inch, 5 feet long rear wing, but the 1LE does, for better track performance. Now, the one drawback to adding all of that stuff in the front and this rear wing and back is that it creates drag. And so as a result, the ZL1 1LE has a far lower top speed than the regular ZL1. But while all of these components make the car less slippery for a top speed run where aerodynamics are more important, they do generate downforce, which keeps the car glued to the ground, which is better for racetrack driving when you're going around tight corners as fast as you possibly can. Now, another difference between the ZL1 and the 1LE is tires. The 1LE has these very special Goodyear summer sports car tires that really seem like they're just one step back from being racing slicks. You can see there's not all that much tread on them. Don't take these out in the rain or the snow or cold weather. They are sticky tires intended to be used best when they warm up on the racetrack, and so that's what the 1LE gets for better grip. Now, one other benefit of the 1LE over the regular ZL1 is the wheels. This car has slightly lighter wheels than the regular ZL1, and there's other weight reduction here too. For instance, the glass is thinner in the car, which allows more sound in, but saves weight. You also have a back seat that's fixed in place. It doesn't fold forward, which saves weight again. Now, when you combine all of that stuff, the 1LE is about 60 pounds lighter than the regular ZL1. Not a huge number, but it's something. It helps just a little bit on the racetrack. Now next up, beyond all of the special 1LE stuff, a couple of other interesting Camaro quirks and features. My very favorite quirk about the latest Camaro models is the way you adjust the temperature for the climate controls. The climate control vents are circular and there's a little silver ring around them. You turn that ring to the right or to the left and that adjusts your climate control temperature, warmer or colder. This is a great idea and it saves them from having to put an extra button or switch in the center and make things more complicated. They've just integrated it into the rim around the climate control vents. That's brilliant. Another unusual Camaro climate control item is how you adjust the fan speed. You have two little buttons in the center. You can press it up or down. Pretty standard. The weird thing is how it's displayed with these tiny little like orange dots in this very small screen right in the middle of the center control stack whenever you adjust the fan speed. Strange, but that's how they've done it. Now, next up, also in the vicinity of the center area, I want to talk transmission. This car has a manual transmission, a true 3-pedal stick shift manual transmission, very much falling out of favor recently. This is a 2018 1LE model, and back then you could only get the 1LE with a manual transmission. Since then, Chevy has added an automatic to the options list, but for 18, this was the only way it came. Now, one interesting transmission-related item, if you look at the steering wheel, you will see paddles there, but they're not there for shifting, of course, since this is a manual. Instead, they say rev match on them. If you pull one of the rev match pedals, it turns on the automatic rev matching system. And then when you go to downshift, you don't have to rev match manually. Instead, the car will do it for you, allowing you to smoothly slide into your gear before you take off after downshifting. One other interesting item on this era of Camaro is the trunk opening, which is unbelievably small. Look at this. The trunk is normal size, but the opening is pathetically tiny, ridiculously restrictive. This is one of the smallest trunk openings I've ever seen relative to the size of the trunk. And next up, one other interesting trunk-related item worth noting. On the inside of the trunk lid, you can see the emergency trunk release, and I love this graphic. It doesn't just show a person getting out of the trunk. He's actually running away. He got kidnapped and he is escaping and he's gonna get out of that trunk. It's a really good illustration of exactly what that latch is for, I guess. All right, driving the 1LE. This car is at a little bit of a disadvantage because it came out like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And since then, the Demon has come out and been more insane. The Hellcat is out, it's more insane. And Chevy hasn't really responded to that with the Camaro. They've done it with the Corvette. Unlike Dodge and Ford, Chevy can't allow the Camaro to get too insane, otherwise people won't buy Corvettes. So you have 650 is kind of their max right now. Not that that's a bad number. I mean, this is a pretty impressive car. I like the ZL1 a lot. And everybody says the 1LE is even a little bit more impressive than that. Surprising amount of shaking through the gear lever as I drive around. This car is certainly not as refined as some little loose there. It got a little loose. It's about 80 miles an hour. And I like that about this car, obviously. I love the sound. I love the rawness. I really, really am impressed by that. The Mustang GT350 to me seems more precise. This car to me seems more like the new Shelby GT500, which is more engine, and that car feels heavier in the front end. It feels heavier overall, and that's how this feels to me. It just doesn't quite feel as spry as the Shelby GT350, even though the numbers say that it's right on par. Love the sound of this car, although again, that's a little bit of a demerit compared to the GT350, which in my mind sounds even better. Interior-wise, the two cars are pretty similar. The interiors of neither of these two cars, the GT350 nor this car, are particularly nice, but that's not really the point. If you're getting 650 horsepower for 65 grand, that is an unbelievable bargain, and you're gonna make compromises somewhere. And for the people who buy this car, they'd rather compromise the interior quality than the performance, which is totally understandable. Yeah, it feels really sharp and really spry for a Camaro, undoubtedly one of the best. I mean, the ultimate Camaro is the correct way to describe this car, but it just doesn't have the precision quite that the GT350R does. I don't think it's a little bit of steering laziness and a little bit of steering feel, not quite as sharp, but also it just kind of feels a little bit like a bigger car. And so that's the Chevy Camaro ZL1 1LE. This is an excellent car, but in the age of an 840 horsepower Dodge Demon and a 760 horsepower Shelby Mustang GT500, a 650 horsepower Camaro seems a bit tame by comparison. This is the ultimate Camaro, but it's not the ultimate muscle car. Still, it's worth a look at the right price. And now it's time to give the 1LE a Doug score.
And the Doug score is here. The 1LE is a great car, but to me it's not quite on the level of today's best Shelby Mustangs. It's 1 point behind the GT350R, and while the 1LE ties the GT500, the Camaro loses in the weekend categories, which are more important for this type of car. The 1LE is an excellent effort, and it's becoming a good deal on the used market. It's just that this segment is so competitive right now that it's hard to be the very best.